is right in the middle.
What's that?
Yeah, you have the flu?
No, I didn't have it.
What's your stomach?
Not even. Maybe.
9, 8, 6, 5. Hey, I want to welcome everybody to the final. It's going to be the final broadcast we have of this year. We've had a great year starting out. This is our inaugural year of Liberty on Caffeine. We've got a lot of exciting things we hope to be bringing forth coming in 2019. Again, we're going to continue to try bringing up the broadcast quality of our little live feed. I want to say this is the first one we've done at Peace, Love, and Little Donuts. So
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody here at Peace, Love, and Little Donuts for hosting us. And
Best donut hole in the city.
best donut hole in the city. And also I want to again thank Yanni at Elite Firearms. We've got Chad. Where are you going?
I think he saw me.
Oh,
He's coming.
okay. We've got the thugs getting in here. All right.
Yeah, I'm ready.
There you go. And we're all excited. We've got a lot to talk about today. And one of the things that we're going to start out with is, I don't know if you guys heard that there was a little bit of some news that dropped prior to Johnny Gardner getting sworn in yesterday.
How convenient.
Just a little
How
bit.
convenient.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that.
It was an article that was dropped by Fitz News. Does anybody know about what time it was?
It was about 11:30 Wednesday night.
11:30 Wednesday night.
Right.
And
Past my bedtime.
yeah, somebody want to do a little bit of a wrap up of because I'll tell you what, I read the piece, and the headline had nothing to do with the actual, in my mind anyway, of what William wrote. It had nothing to do with the actual content of what was inside. Does somebody want to break that down for us a little bit?
Sure.
Let me just jump in. All I got
Yes,
to say
I do.
I want to say, if it rises to the level of a SLED investigation, how come the county's administrator let all these documents get out to the press? That's all I got to say. Thank you, Ed. Good thing. Chad.
Holy crap.
Hi, Chad. Good morning.
Haven't slept much. First off, this whole thing is an absolute hatchet job. I don't know if any of you realize Paul Gable just put out another article.
Yeah, we read it this morning.
He has already talked to the gentleman Goodwin yesterday and put in his article, in exact words, Mr. Goodwin said that was absolutely fabricated. He said that the Karate Kid at Horry County decided that he would fabricate a story about Mr. Goodwin, stating that he was also told that either he paid, or bad stories would come out in regards to Paul Gable and the Strand deal.
Goodwin he's a successful, well-to-do businessman that's kind of a very generous guy, does a lot of goodwill projects and stuff in the area. Okay. I believe Joseph Ayer used to work for him as a pilot.
That very well may be. The thing is, there's a couple different ways that I think that we need to break this down, because I wanted to play connect the dots with you fine gentlemen today.
Let's do that.
Connecting the dots. This was put out by Christopher Eldridge, the only contract that's allowed to be negotiated at Horry County I tried to give him fire rescue. You couldn't even put a helmet on, Chris. Then we have Mr. Karate, Arrigo Karate.
Right.
This was the EDC, otherwise known as the Myrtle Beach,
Regional Economic Development formerly known as Partners.
which is a joke. Let's talk about the people that are involved here that happen to be on said board of the EDC. One of our favorite people we like to talk about, Mr. Wooten, the gracious developer and Waccamaw Land and Timber friend. Hi, everybody. Is on the board of the EDC. You also have Christopher Eldridge, who is on the EDC. Gary Loftus, county councilman, that's on the EDC. Mark Lazarus, who's on the council of the board of the EDC, and then the day that Johnny Gardner, an amazing win of the people standing up against this, comes out with pay to play, so to speak. There's a tape. The lady that did the tape has come out and said, this is absolute fabrication. Who is the COO or CEO? Her Facebook says COO. I messaged her, Miss Sandy Davis, to come join us today. I didn't get a response, of course. But I also sent one to Chris Eldridge.
If there is a tape, she's not going to release the tape.
Well, if there is a tape, she has to release the tape if it goes to SLUT. I don't know, in the way that it comes out when it's written by Mr. Karate, is that this was a conversation had because there was no business to discuss in their weekly meeting. And it sounds like it was a very flippant thing, and maybe Miss Sandy, I'm not sure of your culpability right now, but I appreciate your honesty. Especially turning against the establishment machine, which I just have basically listed as their board. And if you look at the rest of the board, it goes everywhere from Myrtle Beach to state. The gracious Alan Clemens is also on that.
Yep. $1.25 million a year of our taxpayer money is given to the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development
Keep in mind,
Corporation.
Steve, that's just the county's portion.
County, okay.
Each town contributes money. So Myrtle Beach,
Okay.
North Myrtle Beach, Surfside Beach, Conway, Loris, all contribute to it.
So there's a lot of money involved here, and the results have not been stellar in the past. They have failed to achieve their objectives year after year after year. Paul Gable has clearly documented these failures, and maybe that's why he's so critical of the people involved.
Well, see, the thing is, this is such a convoluted thing. I've got to get this out. People are blowing me up right now wanting to know where we're at, and I can't find it to share it onto my page. So,
Do you know our web page? I'll send it to you as we speak.
Okay,
Go
perfect.
ahead.
Do you have it?
What's that? Which one?
The live feed?
Yes.
Can you share it and tag me?
It's sharing everywhere. I'll tell you.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
So,
Sorry, everybody.
so anyway, we are at Peace, Love, and Little Donuts, and they make the best Boston cream donuts in the entire county.
I'll be the judge of that.
Fantastic.
But I haven't ate, and I'm mad. So let's go back to this. So we've already talked about the EDC has its board, which happens to be, say, they're working in, from what I understand, Christopher Eldridge is working not as the administrator, but as a board member.
Correct.
Of the EDC. Now, I'm no lawyer, but I would be very interested to see these emails. Did it go to Christopher Eldridge, Horry County? Because if he's using his Horry County email address, which we all know he is, I think it's very, that could be argued that you're not doing that business.
It could be argued.
And, I mean, I've seen enough Ally McBeal and LA Law that I think that may be the case. Now, that's the semantics of it all, but let's really look at this was a hatchet job based off of, there's two people, Mr. Goodwin, who I do not know, that was said that he had to pay because he didn't want bad stories to go out about him. Miss Davis was told that they need to hire one of Johnny's campaign people. Those are the only two people that are corroborating that this is any type of pay to play in Johnny's new administration.
Correct.
Both those people, as of today, have came out and said that is an absolute fabrication.
Correct.
What this is Christopher Eldridge, who has destroyed Horry County Fire, destroyed Horry County Police, and the employees at Horry County, because you don't know what you're doing. There is no level of empathy in anything you do in your business, and it's all about the money, which we've shown through Mark Lazarus. We've shown through this county council that there is impropriety everywhere. Do we have the golden BB? No. But my grandfather told me a long time ago, if it walks like a duck, acts like a duck, it's a duck. Perception and optics are a big thing, especially in politics. Am I right?
Correct, sir.
Vice President? Yes.
Yeah.
So if optics and all them, but this is the thing, and if you all remember my Burgess video, the last thing I said when I walk out the door was that was arrogance at its finest. I was wrong. The level of arrogance that we're seeing coming from these people right now is triple. Karate, you have no place in our county council or our county administration. You are a lawyer that is dictated by the bar and putting out a fabricated story, which both of your said witnesses have just corroborated and said that you have fabricated every bit of that. Christopher Eldridge, I've said it for a long time, you have no place in our government. You have no concept of people. You have a concept of a bottom line. If I ever start a business, I'll look you up because you're cold and you care about one thing, the guy above you and the money that they need. It's time we've had enough of this. That's why we brought Johnny Gardner in. And what this was I've been calling for Christopher Eldridge. I want your job. I want to watch you walk out of that government building. And I mean it. And I promise you, there's a whole bunch of guys with badges on their chest that think the same way. It's enough. This was done for one reason, and that was to hurt Johnny Gardner on the day of his swearing in. And county council, the games are over. I suggest you guys look at what's really going on in this community and listen to its people. I've talked to a lot of you councilmen. I'm either getting both ways. I'm either getting a bunch of speak, but I hope you're listening. And today, I call for Arrigo Karate's job and Christopher Eldridge's job. They should be fired forthwith. This is ugly. It makes our community look ugly. It makes us look stupid. That the two most powerful people in staff are playing political games. At one point, I thought this had nothing to do with Mark Lazarus. He actually apologized and looked at me that night. And I accept it. But it doesn't go far from the slug. And here we are.
Well, hopefully.
Hang on.
Yeah.
And it's been brought to my attention, Mike Wooten's lawsuit with Fit News has all of a sudden disappeared. Again, we're connecting dots. Perception.
Sure.
Optics.
What we need is the facts to get out there to the public, and hopefully Paul Gable and David Hucks will continue to do their solid investigative reporting so that the citizens of the county can get the facts. Not the hearsay, but the actual facts of what's going on.
Well, let me ask you this. There's two people that are saying that this is because of. Mr. Goodwin said I paid, and Ms. Davis was supposed to be extorted. Those are the facts. They've already came out that both of those people say that this is a total fabrication.
Well, my question, what was the what was the end game from these geniuses to begin with? I mean, first off, I have to wonder about how effective an attorney this fella is to be doing this, because it seems to me that he has put himself in more jeopardy than not. So, hiring practices by the county. Now I've got to sit there and say, maybe we should also look at the what they used as a criteria for hiring this jackass to begin with. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of, because it doesn't sound like he's the sharpest knife in the drawer. Is it because help me out? Is it because he is a shrewd manipulator, a tough guy, a whip? What is actually the thing that attracted him? Was it so he could beat up the employees to keep their contracts low? I don't know. What is his deal? I guess. And what is he trying to protect? What was their end game for doing this entire exercise, except for a slight amount of embarrassment before a big event?
Well, I have a theory.
Yeah.
Because I've never wanted somebody, I'm not a big fan of people losing their job.
Right.
But this man did not work for the county, and I'm speaking on Christopher Eldridge.
Yeah.
Has not worked for the county in any way, shape, or form. He worked for one man. And that is not conjecture.
Right.
That is very, very, there's one person that was able to speak and to dictate policy.
Right.
He's no longer with us. Now, my theory, and this is why he's not as dumb as we're thinking here. Arrigo Karate and Christopher Eldridge both were pretty sure they probably wouldn't be asked to stay under this administration.
Okay.
What we're dealing with is a Trump-Hillary Clinton situation. And I'm saying that because nobody thought Johnny Gardner was going to win.
The deep state of Horry County.
But yeah, are they going to try to, as we've conjectured that they're going to still continue to try to run shadow government at Horry County?
Oh, yes.
Well, I have a hard time. That's a really long pier for me to jump off of. You guys have been around a lot longer. You've seen a lot more dirty. I'm kind of new to the dirty. Well, I always knew it was there. Now I have a way to speak because you guys give me an opportunity to. I looked at this as just like the Obama administration tried to keep a lot of their people in place because they weren't able to clean house because they never thought they would lose. I really believe that's Trump's biggest problem.
Yeah.
It's because there was so much, and they tried to make so many issues about Trump that they haven't been able to say, here's a clean slate, all the bad we did is gone, we've hidden it. You can say it all you want, but computers are missing. I understand that it maybe be from a fired employee or whatever, but there's been no perp walk, which was said to me the other
Is
day.
there a SLED investigation on that?
FBI investigation.
On the county computers?
FBI is involved, and that was written. That is not just me throwing stuff out there. And I don't know. Again,
Why did
you guys,
it go to the FBI above SLED?
see, and that's what I was going to say. I believe because, and that's what says a lot about what was stolen, is because this could possibly have government information or
Incriminating evidence.
and so the FBI would naturally take over.
Okay. Maybe personal information of citizens and things like that.
Exactly, and that's when they're saying, well, this is nothing to see here. These were 43 internet computers, not hard drives.
Right.
Whatever.
I believe that.
But if that was the case, and I've talked to a couple of different law enforcement friends of mine that are higher up, and that doesn't make any sense for FBI to be called in necessarily, unless they're asked. They can be called in for some, but it's only $264,000. I say only because the FBI focuses
Well,
on
that's the
bigger
value of the equipment. What was
The value.
on the equipment is of the value of interest,
And
more
To
so.
the public.
But because this was a civic, a governmental hard drives, that's my question. And where they're trying to play it off as this is really no big deal, I have a hard time with it. The FBI doesn't deal with no big deals.
No.
And instead of SLED.
Okay.
And the way this is working with, to answer your question, my personal opinion, what is the best way to not get fired? Divert. So the very man that may fire me, be it Chris Eldridge or Karate or any of the other super admin we have up there, NHR, the best way to not get fired is to say, oh, well, I did all this paperwork and stuff because they were corrupt, and now that's why I'm being fired, and look at me, now I have a lawsuit against the guy.
Okay.
And the very guy he needs to go talk to about what are our legal options here with Christopher Eldridge is involved deeply. Karate.
Right.
So what they did is they are trying to tie Johnny's hands, make him look ugly. And the great part about it, Miss Sandy Davis, I mean, if you go to her Facebook page, she's like, I'm voting today, put the big Lazarus banner up. Fine, we know who you voted for. But what she's come out and done tells me it's even more of a hatchet job because she doesn't want her name dragged through this and she's being honest about it.
So if you go into a public meeting and you secretly record what's going on in that meeting, Are you liable for any,
Now, as long as the person recording, this is my understanding, I'm not a lawyer. In South Carolina, if you're one of the parties to the meeting, the person who recording is a party to the meeting. They were there. Okay. Unlike, it's only illegal if somebody had a listening device in this room that weren't a party to this meeting, that would be illegal.
Which
they
is a
were
felony.
eavesdropping type thing.
Well, and the
Some
idea-
states have that's unilateral consent, and some states
Okay.
have bilateral consent.
So
that's what the
idea is
issue with
dictation.
Clinton and the dress
Right.
came up between Maryland and Virginia.
Now, I have tried to look into this a little bit. All my lawyer friends apparently are super busy because I didn't get any responses. One person has to know that's privy to the meeting.
They don't have to tell them.
Well,
They don't have to tell anybody. But is that admissible in court?
well, this is
Yes, if you're
let me get back to the heart of it. Is the reason they have it is the idea was that it's a dictation device.
Right.
Correct.
And that's for you're part of the meeting, so you can have your dictation device. But what you do with that recording, as far as sharing it, that is where it becomes
Evidence.
and real iffy, and whether it's legal. Because say for instance, we decided to get together for a coffee clatch, and I wanted to take notes. I wanted to record it, and I brought it with me. And then I say, you know what, this would be a great blog, and I post it on the internet. I'm in trouble because I have to have from each one of you a release saying that I can do this. And when you put it out to other people, you're supposed to go and call the people and say, "Can I have a release?" That's the chain of what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But what they're doing with this, when it gets thrown into the pile of evidence because it got turned over to somebody, guess who's in trouble? The person who recorded it and didn't say, before she turned it over, she should have been on the phone saying, "Hey, guess what, Johnny? I got to tell you, I want to share this with some other people, and I'm going to have a release."
I think in general that sounds about right, but there's probably some differences because she was a county employee, was she?
Well, she's an employee of Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development.
She shared it with her employer, i.e. the board.
But I understand she's on county computer equipment.
Could be.
Well, that gets into details.
We're talking. Let me just interject one thought. We're talking about the legal implications of recording somebody. I'm not. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. What was the purpose what was the intent at the very beginning of recording a meeting in which they're discussing the future of the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Corporation and how it will work with the new chairman? What's the purpose of recording a meeting like that? There's no reason to record that.
Well, sure there is, because he's already came out and said in his election bid that he didn't think it was a good program. He's already said negative things about it, so they wanted to try to get something.
Is it known that the attendees there, other than the person recording it, or the two girls, did anybody else know there was recording?
No.
They weren't
That's
required to, but
that was my
usually if
point.
there was, if it's to take minutes or something, you let everybody know, hey, I'm gonna record this.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, if you listen carefully to Johnny Gardner's
But
statements,
we don't know. None of us have listened to that whole tape, so.
if you listen carefully to his statements over the course of the campaign,
Yeah.
and since then, he's not opposed to the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Corporation. He's not opposed to economic development. He's opposed to the fact that we have an organization here, or he's not even opposed to it. He's unhappy, as all of us are, with the fact that we have an organization that was formed in the mid-1990s, originally called Partners, which is now here entering, I guess, its 25th year. And I understand to the tune of $25 or $30 million have been spent. And basically what we have is every now and then a ribbon cutting at a 7-Eleven in Loris. This is not economic development.
Right.
Just
And then they
yesterday,
close 3 years later.
exactly.
Yeah.
Just yesterday, we talked about some of this stuff, and the suggestion has been made, and this is also true, and Ed, you know more about this than anybody, the same situation persists in the city of Myrtle Beach. And in fact, structurally it persists, because John Peterson is on the board of directors of the Downtown Redevelopment Corporation, just like Chris Aldridge is on the board of directors of the Myrtle Beach Redevelopment Corporation. So you have this convoluted mess of individuals and people that are all involved in this kind of stuff. And the bottom line is, had the money that was invested generated new businesses, new interests, new corporations, people hiring new people, we wouldn't be having this conversation. It never has.
That's true.
It's a
That's true.
complete and total failure. So,
So,
I
so,
can-
so the fact that the counties and the cities are giving monies into these organizations one way or another via grants or parking fees or whatever, and they're going out and spending money on promotions or more so buying land in the case of
Or
here in the city.
yeah.
That's not the purpose of economic development.
Well-
Have the government buy more land, is it?
Well, the Myrtle Beach Regional Economic Development Corporation, to my knowledge, is not involved with those decisions to purchase land. However, I think this is all you have to, Johnny Gardner's message has been so simple and so clear from the very beginning. Nothing matters if you don't have public safety. Public safety is number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 10. Everything else comes later.
Prioritize.
Yeah,
So how do
so,
we get past that? We demonize them, which is
exactly.
what Christopher Eldridge has been doing since. I can give you a list of firings
Yeah,
from posting on mine, the thug.
Yeah.
I like what you said, Chad. Oh, you're getting fired because you didn't put a cap on this at work. You're done.
so what would be...
I have files, and it's coming.
So what would be the motivation of paid county employees, bureaucrats, or for that matter, elected officials to not want to put public safety first? What's the motivation? Because I think if you get after that, you get after the whole
They'd have to
problem.
raise taxes because all their other money's tied up in their clan.
They'd either have to raise taxes or they'd have to cut spending on things that they get.
Well, that's just it. They're going to have to open those books, and we're going to be able to see where the money is being wasted.
Exactly.
They don't want that.
This is a very interesting discussion, but let's get at the fundamentals of economics. Number one, government does not create jobs.
Amen.
Yep.
Your taxes are taking money out of the economy, taking money away from capitalization, taking money away from the businessman. So the more money that we give to the county and the city and these economic development corporations, it's money that's wasted that could be used to create jobs.
Amen. Yeah, that's true.
And
Economics
you know,
10-101.
when Partners was started, it was started by corporations who pooled their money together to promote economic development. And then it was like, you know what? I bet we can get some tax money for this.
It's kind of like a chamber, huh?
There you go.
Kind of like a chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like a chamber.
Hey, I'm going to take a little break. Just a common friend of ours, Isaiah White, we want to give a shout out to him.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys have heard, but he had a little blessing show up, an 8-pound, 20-ounce little girl.
Wow.
Congratulations,
Braylon
Isaiah.
May.
Congratulations, Isaiah.
So, yeah, got a little picture up there of Isaiah and
Fantastic.
his level of joy. Just wanted to bring that up. Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you. What a gift that he's been given for that. Just wanted to take a little bit of a break on that before we continue on.
That's a great thing. Thank you for saying that.
Oh yeah, and I just also let's take some time because it is this time of year to think of the things that we hope and pray and have these wishes for Christmas gifts. And
I wish Chris Eldridge was fired.
Well,
today.
my thing is I
I
hope.
get the
happy.
this is dirty. This is absolute dirty, and I appreciate it. I'm just saying.
I'd like to ask the moderator to ask our special guest, Chad Caton, a question. Is there anything specific on your mind today that you'd like to discuss?
Yes. Let's talk about the dirty that we've been talking about for so long in this county.
Merry Christmas.
I mean, what would be a better Christmas than getting our county government square?
Well, maybe for the councilman.
I mean, I
and
know
the
one
city
that thinks this is
councilman
just
to
crazy.
find-
No.
To find a spine and conscience under the Christmas tree, on Christmas morning. I don't know. I didn't know if you guys had any ideas of something that. that the city-
Yeah, and I think, and we'll get around to some of these things. I think all of us have input here, but I want to say a couple of things, actually. I think one of the things that I think is so distressing and so hurtful, and I know that has impacted me on a personal level for a number of years, is that elected officials who receive comments and criticism or just input from the public, especially an intelligent public, have become for some reason averse to that stuff. They don't want to hear about it, and they turn it into an attack, a personal attack. I'm sitting here right now and say a lot of the people that we talk about here, I don't have any personal problem with. I don't have an issue on a personal level with any of these people, and the ones I'm talking about know who I'm talking about. These people either were or are friends of mine. I just don't like what they do and how they do it, which is very different than who they are. Very different,
Yeah,
okay?
That's true. That's true.
And someday, this is the big picture stuff. We'll probably have to have a separate session. We are living in an environment right now with political correctness and all this other nonsense that is destroying the very heart of this country. It's killing us. And this, what took place here, is a symptom of what is going on that is destroying the country.
Well, and another tactic that's used is when you criticize somebody for their actions that's in politics. They have this thing of, I feel like I'm in danger, and then they say, okay, they'll try to take the people who are criticizing them and make them sound dangerous, like giving them a nickname like Thug. And things like that.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, we need things to protect me because I don't feel safe in my own home and in my meetings. So we're going to limit everybody's free speech, the time they can talk, who they are before they get to the microphone. We're going to qualify them. We're going to, and they use that as their tactic.
And where does that come from? See, that's what happened along the way here that over the past 25 or 30 years, elected officials, boards and commissions, people like that, are averse to having us talk to them about their input. There's no transparency. Ed, one of his big things during the campaign last year was asking for transparency. And the result of it is, in the city of Myrtle Beach, is far less transparent now than it was a year ago.
Amen.
I mean, they're clamping down on how long you can talk, and when it hits the 2 minute, or is it 2 or 3?
3.
When it hits the 3 minute number, you're done. I mean, if you keep talking, pretty soon there's a cop going to throw you out. My question is, if that person is saying something of value, if it may be helpful to citizens of Myrtle Beach or Horry County to have Joe Blow say something, then let him say it. They got elected by us to sit there and represent us, not to dictate what they want.
Exactly.
And I'm just furious about this.
Well, yeah.
Plus, they limit which taxpayer can talk.
They limit which taxpayer can talk, absolutely. And this is not just official council meetings, but it's boards and commissions like the CAB and all these other groups that just block out every input as though they have the magic bullet, they know what they're doing.
Oh,
and so what are they trying to protect by doing that?
And I love the idea
Corporation.
of you don't have all the information. You don't know because we've done all these wonderful things behind closed doors that have all the secret information. Therefore, you don't know what you're talking about. What a bunch of crock.
So, okay, perfect time for this, okay? Does anybody know, either in the Declaration of Independence, Steve, you're an expert at this stuff, or the Constitution, could you please recite the article in the Constitution that refers to opacity in government or secrecy? You know, where it's all about we need to keep things secret and away from the public. I can't remember reading that anywhere. You know, it's funny, it's not in there, is it? It's because they never intended that. The whole idea was to invite the public into the government and have them say things. So,
Well, here we are.
yeah.
Eldridge and Karate, you're dirty. Period.
Secrecy.
And you know what? There's been cops and firemen that said it forever and have watched their tone. I go to parties and it's like I have the plague because they don't want to touch me, talk to me, or anything because I'm so far out there right now. You know what? Those days are over. Those days are over.
Yeah, it has to end.
This has to end.
Yep.
Every county councilman, get on the phones, people. This can't happen. To a man that's done nothing but want to run for county. He hasn't even done anything but raise his hand.
What can we do in county council with our limited time?
What was the year that the TDF was proposed?
2008, it was.
Okay, so 2008, in my opinion, was the beginning of the culture of corruption in Horry County. And to this day, we are still fighting that culture of corruption. I'd like to wish everybody out there a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year's. And really, we have a blessing. 2018 was a good year for the beginning of the fight against that culture of corruption. We had some very good elections. We've taken the first steps. Hopefully 2019 and 2020, when the primaries come up, we'll continue to make steps to fight the culture of corruption. And I hope that this particular panel and other, all of the investigative journalists will shed light on what's going on in this county so that we can fight it, we can continue to fight it. And that's what I dedicate my time to, is fighting the culture of corruption in this particular county.
I think we should add one thing, and I don't think it was intentional. I guess the stories were first published. Paul Gable ran
Paul
the
Gable.
story. Well, Will Folks ran the story that was pretty negative.
Fit News.
Fitz News. Paul Gable ran a story. David Hucks ran a story.
Right.
But I think it's important to note that the My Ori News, the Ori Independent, and all those small newspapers ran a really good story about
They
that.
have
Oh,
not
right.
been Johnny
Yeah.
friendly.
Yeah, they have not been Johnny friendly, but they ran the good story. They told the truth. They went to the horse's mouth and got the quotes. And I appreciate them doing that. That's a sign that maybe we're having a breakthrough here.
I think
Yeah,
so.
Okay.
That's why I think this was a huge, stupid tactical error by these guys. I don't, and
You sound surprised.
well,
Holy
I've
crap,
never-
it's happened to me how many times?
Yeah, but I'm never.
They keep stepping on me. I didn't go after Brenda Bethune. She came after me.
Yeah.
How stupid.
I was there that day.
I shouldn't be. I guess I overestimate their
Everything.
intelligence. I
Yeah.
guess. I guess that's the whole thing.
I was there that day at the high school, and all of a sudden Chad's over there. Next thing I know, he's getting in the car and leaving because he was told by the mayor to get the hell out of there.
Mayor Soxty.
Yeah.
Mayor of Socracy. I wonder who that
There must be a
guy-
charter. I wasn't
Yeah,
familiar.
yeah.
You know,
All of a sudden he's getting out of
you
there,
know, we're
Uh-oh.
engine forward.
President.
so that the politicians
Engine
can
number
come in
one's got a call coming in.
and have their photo op.
You know, it's the
Rigo
philosophy.
Karate's attorney.
Probably.
Government's here for primary reasons of public safety and property rights. It's not here to be the developer.
Correct.
It's not here to be the job creator. It's here to facilitate private citizens' safety and their property rights, and they shouldn't be calling the shots for certain people. You know, the basically everything boils down to some kind of tax or some kind of favoritism in government, and we just have too many of them, and we've got this city and this county's got a lot of money. Yeah, there's a lot of tourists that they tax the hell out of. Okay,
Yep.
but those buckets of money are tied up, and they're not providing for the basic government function of safety.
I heard a story from a captain of the fire department the other day. I was meeting with some of the guys. He has to buy his own batteries for his firehouse. Because when he goes through procurement, and there's certain aspects of the fire apparatus and medical equipment that need particular batteries. If he ran out of batteries too soon, it's his fault
Yeah.
as the captain of the house
Okay, you know-
for batteries.
You know, I don't know.
That's the world that Orange County employees are
Here's
living
what
in.
always bugged me. I don't know if you know the background. When did the fire departments and the who run the EMTs and the ambulances, when did they start billing individuals?
For
the
the
services.
services that they're rendering.
Yeah, I thought that was part of us paying taxes. When did that mentality stop?
I've never
When some
understood
lawyer
that.
sued it to an insurance company and say you got to reimburse us.
Possibly.
I mean,
I've never understood that, and
when I grew up, I don't remember that, hearing stories like that. I
which
don't know
has
when that
changed
started.
a paramedic when they do the report. Every time we go to a call in an ambulance, a report is generated. That report is written by the EMT or
You
a
need a
paramedic.
body on the ground, you ask them if they got insurance? We need to bill somebody?
That is a question that comes up, and we need to know if they have insurance. If we don't, there is, depending on how they're injured, there is a box that says was unavailable, and they figured out at the hospital. That's why when you're sitting there bleeding out, and the lady's sitting there with the computer asking you your name, birthday, and whatnot, because the hospital will make sure. But I will tell you, when that happened, and fire across the nation turned the service of being a firefighter into your report didn't dictate enough, and you need to do this and this and this. So instead of doing classes on how to cut somebody out of the car, they're doing classes on how to properly do a
Paperwork.
report that they can use in billing.
Yeah.
Now, is that a huge problem in Horry County? No.
Yeah.
But I can say that because of the huge problems we have in Horry County Fire.
Yeah.
There should be no problems with Horry County Fire or Police because 4 years ago we underwent the largest property tax increase in Horry County history, and the county council sold it on the idea that this was all going to correct all the problems with our
Police,
fire and
rescue,
police,
yeah.
and that was not really true, but that's the way they sold it. And we ended up with the, 7% increase on our property taxes, so you should have all the money you need.
Well, let's talk about what that was
Where
supposed
did,
to happen. I
where
was
did that
there.
money go?
They were supposed to put 3 people per apparatus. That is budgeted. I just broke my pen. I brought another one.
You get a little bit animated.
I always, when I'm mad, I always bring an extra. Let's talk that. Part of that millage was new apparatus, which we got from KME. They were all junk and were constantly off the road. I don't know how it went down, but now we ended up with Pierce, which is a fine truck, engine, pumper, rescued. Don't start emailing me. But they were supposed, the big part there was going to be 3 people on an engine. That is not happening. We don't even have an officer on an engine. Sometimes.
Well, I mean, just to segue that the
I like that.
fire departments are charging insurance companies because they need to recover, or the city thinks they recover some of that money. Government just keeps saying, oh, we're not raising taxes, but everywhere you turn around, there's a fee.
Yeah.
I mean, this city's so proud of running their mouth about we're the lowest taxes around. Well, actually, we're not. If you add all the fees up and the millage rate's higher, it's smoke and mirrors. We got to stop that.
Ever since the TDF, they've been using this nonsensical statement that we just did the biggest property tax cut in the history of South Carolina with the TDF. It was not a property tax cut at all.
Right.
It's just a question of who's paying the property taxes.
Right.
It went from owners of property paying property taxes to people buying stuff in Myrtle Beach paying property taxes
Right.
on their behalf. So, I mean, listen, I don't know how much you want to stray from this local thing, and if you want to stay on it, I'm cool with that.
No, you
But
guys
I do want to bring something up in it, and maybe it's because we're looking at the new year. We have just gone through all this nightmare here in Horry County and in the city of Myrtle Beach.
We've gone through it, or are
We're going through it, yep.
Yeah.
And to
keep
me, it
perspective.
is symptomatic or emblematic of everything wrong, not just with here, but with America. And you can't fix Washington until you fix Myrtle Beach. You just
Absolutely.
can't do it. We have to start here, and I think the process is underway.
Right.
I think in a way, Chad, yesterday's events was a blessing because it's awakened a lot of people to the fact that this kind of undercurrent of corruption and nasty behavior is out there, and we have to stop it now. And I think we just elected a guy who's going to do well to help correct all that stuff.
Well, I'll tell you
And I
this, he ain't playing games no more.
Well, and I also would encourage, I won't warn, but I would encourage the current other members of county council, and there are some good ones on there, to listen and carefully to what we're saying and what other people are saying. And remember, if you keep your door open, if you keep your phone turned on, if you listen to what people are saying, if you invite us into the process, you will never have this problem.
Amen.
It's only when you shut people out.
Yeah.
Okay? What I was going to talk about is a little bit different, and then we can go back if you want to. But how many of you have ever heard of the 10 cannots? You heard of the what? Huh?
Is this history?
No.
Okay.
10 cannons.
The 10 cannots. Have you heard of the 10 cannots?
Cannons?
Cannots. Cannots.
No.
I was
Okay,
a
well,
CB, we never
I
used
probably
it.
have, but
A lot of people
forgot.
believe that these 10 cannots that have to do with the way things should work were from Abraham Lincoln because the cannots were published in a thing about Abraham Lincoln back in the 1940s, but it was actually written
1840s.
1940s,
Okay.
back during when I was around.
Okay.
When I
Well, hey, look,
That's why I'm going to my phone, because I checked out.
It was written by a guy named William Henry Bochter, who was a German who came to America, became a Presbyterian minister, and was kind of the forerunner of guys like Anthony Robbins. He became a public speaker, sort of an energetic, enthusiastic
Motivational.
guy, motivational guy.
Yeah.
He wrote the 10 Cannots in 1916, and the idea was to emphasize freedom and responsibility of the individual, something that everybody at this table values more than anything else, right? You just talked about it, Steve talks about it, Chad talks about it. So I'm going to read you the 10 Cannots, and sometimes I think that more than the Constitution, more than the preamble, more than anything else, this sets the stage for everything. Here we go. The 10 Cannots. You cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot help little men by tearing down big men. You cannot lift the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot help the poor by destroying the rich. You cannot establish sound security on borrowed money. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot keep out of trouble by spending more than you earn. You cannot build character and courage by destroying men's initiative and their independence. And you cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they can and should do for themselves. Now,
You want to wrap that up in a nice little ball for you?
please do.
Don't be a dick.
So, let me borrow your pen.
Have at it.
Don't be
I mean,
a
Just
dick.
one thing real
the only thing I know in this life is still true is the golden rule. It's that simple. Don't be a jerk.
Okay, folks, if you have, it's coming down to the wire, you only have a few days till Christmas. You can't think of what you can get for that tough to buy loved one.
Liberty on caffeine, don't be a dick shirt.
I want, yeah. But, or
Going on sale today.
go to see Yanni at Elite Firearms and pick up some needed ammunition, some
After this show, I'm getting a vest. Yanni, give us
T-shirt,
extra large vest.
sign them up for a concealed class, something like that. He's open. He's got great deals going on. If you have a chance to hop on down there, that's why a little bit of business. And
Let me ask you something. Are you like shutting down the show? Just
no. I'm just trying not to be a dick.
What's going on here? Oh, you're trying not to be a dick?
Yeah.
Give him the first shirt.
I'm watching this right now. The FCC was cool with dick.
It's like this guy. It's like this guy. Is it Don Brown that passes out the mag?
Don Bound.
Bound. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think
Who
we
is
should
a
go to
wonderful
his-
guy.
He's a wonderful guy, but he's nothing compared to you because you're going to start passing out these shirts. The Iron
Yeah.
dick shirt.
Don't be a dick.
Who wants a don't be a dick shirt?
Okay.
Put us on the
Let me,
live
hey, buddy.
I bet Eva, Peggy, the triplets, they need those for when they go to council.
Okay, we'll have that on our Facebook page. We will have the Don't Be a Dick shirts on sale for 2019.
The man with the words. Who's that? Who's that?
I don't know. I can't
What time is it? What
George?
time is it?
Carlin.
Yeah.
Yeah, George
Okay,
Carlin.
now y'all got to bear
Let's
with me.
take a long time ago.
I'm almost done. I will shut up if you like.
No problem.
We were talking about William Becker, and,
really
and
wrote
we talked
Don't Be a
about
Dick
the
on the
10.
paper.
I know.
You really wrote Don't Be a Dick on the
Listen,
paper.
I listened to what you said. I memorized it and shit. Oops, I said that word.
That's it.
He also said the following things, okay? Called the 7 National Crimes. By the way, I'm going to post all this on the Up with America Facebook page, which is Facebook.com/Up with America.
Okay.
7 national crimes. I don't think. I don't know. I don't care. I'm too busy. I leave well enough alone. I have no time to read and find out. And I'm not interested. And you know what the moral of those stories is? The more things change, the more they stay the same. That was written in 1916. We are 102 years later, and we still don't think, don't know, don't care, too busy. We need more guys like Chad who are energized to get involved in this stuff. So I'll shut up.
Which brings me to the Empowerment Conference, January 19th.
There you go. There you go.
I'm pumped up about this. I'm humbled in a lot of ways. Corey Lewandowski, the thug of the Trump campaign before
Yes.
they brought on Crooked Manafort. He's coming here to speak. He just wrote a book. With your paid admission, you receive a book from Corey. We have a great line of speakers going to speak, with Corey Lewandowski being the headline. John Warren, who ran for governor and is very popular here in Uri. Her name is Lisa something. She has to do with water conservation, which is a huge topic here, and our levees, which we don't have, and our rising waters, and the conservation of our own drinking water. Dave Schwartz, who is a huge counsel for me, somebody I go to with questions because I'm fairly new to this. I probably shouldn't have said don't be a dick, but it may be a shirt, so that's cool.
It would only be bad if his name was Dick Schwartz.
Or Rich.
Okay, go.
Richard Head.
Richard Head, never did. I also have been asked to speak, and to be up there in that group of people is nothing short of humbling and nerve-wracking and scary.
But you do need a flak jacket.
You know, maybe. Yanni's got him there.
There you go.
At Elite Firearms.
There you go.
But we're also going to have, the part of this is there's going to be a mixer with a lot of our big sponsors. The Liberty Caucus is going to be there.
Republican Liberty Caucus of South Carolina is a sponsor. Yes.
Have a chance to get up there and talk to them. There's going to be a good opportunity for everybody to be in the lobby and talk about issues that we have. And we want Democrats, Libertarians, Republicans, everybody to come. There's a lady all over Facebook that's her exact words were, and Eva, tell me if I'm wrong, but it was, I'm interested in hearing Corey Lewandowski, but I have no interest in seeing a broke down fireman that's only claim to fame was disrupting a meeting.
Who said this?
I can't remember her name. Eva might put it up here. I will say this: my biggest claim to fame was the day that I put the CB on my patch on my shirt. The second would be, and I think I just screwed that up, would be marrying my wife. I'll take that first.
You in the heap of trouble, boy.
She's already texting.
Elizabeth's already on
Before
it.
you go home to Elizabeth, stop by Yanni's, get the flag.
Everybody knows I have a beautiful Italian redheaded wife that actually can tan instead of being transparent like most redheads. Yeah, but I'm scared to death of her, and
As
I
you
love
should
her to
be.
death, and she's wonderful. But to put that out there as to my only claim to fame, I just want to put it out there. My service to my country and community has been my greatest accomplishment.
Thank you.
That I've ever been able to have, and I wanted to get real nasty with her, but at the end of the day, when all you do is follow the establishment, I'm assuming that you're getting paid by the establishment in some way. So I can't be mad at you because your boat was paid for by those people. But just know, we're going to expose you.
Well, I'd like to say this. We are the establishment, and we need to get back in control.
Correct.
Yeah, there you go.
That's a great way of putting it.
Yeah.
And you know what? I talk to so many people because they're like, Chad, why do you care about politics? You know, Fortnite's stupid. I don't know why people like that. I don't understand why you could put your head in the sand and say, you know what? It's so much bigger than me. You know where it's not bigger to? Are veterans. You know why? Because guys in suits, just like county council, dictate lives of those that put their ass on the line. That's how I got into politics. Mm-hmm. And laying on a couch for a year with my broken neck. Mm-hmm. And I had to do something, so I made it my life to remove Al Sharpton from television. So I stayed on every blog I could, and the day he was removed from MSNBC during the week, I had a party. I know it wasn't me, but I felt like it was. But that's what really got me into it, because in following that, you follow politics. Corey Lewandowski was a huge thing for me because I was like, wow, this guy's crazy. He's out there. This isn't your typical politician. Although I don't always like what President Trump has to say, you can't take away from the results. And that's where it comes back to being fiscal conservative and being about, the left is so far left, I don't even know what to say they are anymore. But we have to get involved, because these are the old white guys that are going to not be here. Somebody's got to take it after we go. That's why I thought it was very interesting that our local legislator, Russell Fry, was put to the majority whip. I thought it was a great move.
Yeah.
I don't always agree with Russell Fry.
But to have some youth and vigor and so on, yeah.
And the thing is I'm actually bringing people, I have friends that are like, I want to get involved. I was told last night, I want to get involved. And you know what? We're organizing through the empowerment, through the things that we're doing to get the younger people out there. My generation is now they start having family later in life.
Well, just to not lighten things up, but I just really do have a feeling that 2019 is going to be a very interesting and uplifting year for us. I mean, we do have Johnny Gardner, stepping in, and it's going to be very interesting to see what type of transformation is going to take place, because there has to be some.
Right.
There has to be some.
No, there has to be a lot.
It's going to be interesting to see what's going to go on even here in Myrtle Beach city government, because they're already showing signs of having to be real flexible. We don't hear about a library and children's center going downtown anymore. That
Oh,
is-
yes, we do.
that-
No,
well,
yes.
it has morphed into.
No,
now-
sir.
Oh, it hasn't. I thought it morphed into.
Oh, crap,
we're
somebody
also
text
gonna
Elizabeth,
have
she's
the,
watching
the CCU.
Oh, that's a cover story.
That's just.
Oh yeah, we're still getting the museum and the.
Oh, okay.
And the library.
And
I
see,
wanna
that's where my
address that.
generation
This is-
gets tired because we see it, we read it, and then we have people who are in the game and know it and be like, "Well, let me translate this for you." I just had a
So
Jason
Rick-
Mullarkey. Thank you, Chad, for not sugarcoating it.
Right.
Well, we shouldn't sugarcoat it, and that's what happens in our government. You know what I was really proud of, and I'll say this to Mark Lazarus at that when his last council meeting, I went.
Yeah.
When he apologized about the thug comment, first time in my life I've ever seen humility and him as humble. And I've said it how many times, that's what we've lost in politics.
Right.
We are so worried about the left. We're so worried about somebody else. Just like you said, we're demonizing people.
Yep.
We're fighting. What we need to do is we need to step up and find our humility.
Well, just on the streets too, I'm finding it difficult to explain to people that they're, especially with young people, they get confused with the difference between free market capitalism and corporatism. They have no clue. Half the time they're railing against corporatism, but they're slapping the name of capitalism on top of it.
Right.
But see, that's so crazy because there's people who don't understand Republican and Democrat.
Right.
There's people that don't know that there's a Secretary of State.
Right.
Have you ever watched these videos from InfoWars or whatever? Not that I'm an InfoWars guy, but they sit there and they say, "Do you know who said it?" And they'll be like, "Trump." Nope, that was Hillary. Nope, that was this. No, the thing is we have to make politics not about isms and words.
That's true.
And I say that because you guys are so knowledgeable and so entrenched, and I get it. But that's where I come in, is to say, you know what, everything you just said, beautiful, eloquent, I loved it. But don't be a dick. It's that simple. That's my generation. I'm not saying it's right.
I hear you.
But if we don't start focusing on that, the Republican Party, and you know who said it? It was Eric Bolling. I went there for the Red Hats down in Charleston, and I thought it was going to be a happy, happy day, 500 hats. That we ended up going to Jerry McDaniel, which was awesome. He said to everybody there, if we do not look at our younger generation and our social stance in the Republican Party, even though he's a libertarian, after Trump, there will be no Trump, and the Republican Party will die.
Yeah.
It is too popular right now. Where is the Republican Party pumping out new Republicans? I can tell you a couple places Democrats are. Every time you guys go to a college graduation, you just pumped out a whole bunch of Democrats. And that's not me being rude towards liberal arts or anything like that. It's the truth. It's the numbers that are out there. The Republican Party, as it sits right now, has done nothing. That's why I've been very a critic of Ms. Dreamer Purdue. She's the president. The vice president is here with us right now. He made it important to come and talk to me because I started getting involved. He wanted to know about me. I've talked to Dreamer once, and that was at the Christmas party.
For those of you, oh, go ahead.
I want to make a follow-up about your comment about college graduates. That reminds me of something I saw recently that high school and middle schools have a lack or no longer have civic government
Right.
classes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't. I think we got to be careful pointing fingers of certain types of people, but it's us collectively what we're allowing our government to do and not do, and kids need to learn government systems. They need to learn comparative politics. Okay. So they can.
But everywhere we turn, we're changing history.
But
Need to learn about the
learn the Constitution. but there's a learning process, and we can't stop that education. So let's not put down necessarily the kids that are coming out of college, because we need to make sure they're coming out diversified and educated, because they are the future.
Well, while we've all grown up and entered the
But am I wrong?
I don't agree with that statement. But
You
that's
think
okay.
that there's
That's okay. We
no,
can
that's
disagree.
fine. But I think we need to, because the research that I've done, which I am by no means scientific in any way, but I look at all aspects of it. I actually, you know, where I have a niece that goes to the University of Alabama Roll Tide,
But
and she told me in Alabama how liberal a lot of the kids are.
I think it has a lot to do with the younger generation is just turned off by all the bickering between the parties.
I agree.
Okay, and it's not that they are, they're the liberal or they're not interested, but when you hear, the arguments back and forth, and it's like the defense of one is the fault of another. We got to stop that in this country.
Well, I
we
think
really
that
do.
what I see
We
with
got to
us-
focus on solutions and not saying it was his fault or your fault.
It was
it's
absolutely
it's
Chris
our
Elkins'
fault. We
fault.
are the voters. We got to get involved.
I agree. But my thing is too is that for this millennial group that's coming through, or whatever you want to call them out, the social issues. That's the one thing that I have had younger people, my generation, talk to and say, I believe in fiscal conservative, but my brother and 6 friends are gay, and I don't understand why Republicans have this staunch level on gay. We have to get past the social issues that really have no dictation in government.
So you said a lot about
Go
the
back to
Republican
basic
Party.
government, and
That
that's
would be
why
great.
they don't want to hear it. Okay.
That would be great.
Let me say a few words about the Republican Party, then I'll be quiet. Yes, I totally agree that the Republican Party is in dire need of reform. Thank you.
To the blue shirt.
Now, you in the audience can help to reform the Republican Party by participating in the upcoming reorganization of the Horry County Republican Party on March 14th. And you'll be hearing more about reorg in the coming weeks. There are 10 different reorg locations. But if you want to get active in the Republican Party, if you want to have a say in what's going on in Republican Party politics, if you want to have a say in what the Republican Party platform is all about, then the very beginning is to participate in the reorg. And like I say, you'll be hearing more about reorg in the near future, but I encourage all of you to participate, because that's the only way that you'll be able to see any kind of reform in Republican Party
And
politics.
that you have
In the locals.
and that you will be involved in the
Yeah,
reform.
right.
Let me address the issues that Chad and Ed were talking about just a minute ago. This is critically important. The truth of it is, if you're a millennial or a Gen Xer, the textbooks that you have used, I was not aware of all the detail here until sometime recently, that you have used to learn about this country and what its founding was about and the history of this country have changed dramatically since we were kids. The textbook that is primarily used now is a thing called The People's History of the United States by a guy named Howard Zinn, and it's total lies. It has completely changed the truth in history. And there's another book that came out in 1995. That book came out in the early 90s. Another book came out in 1995 called Lies My Teacher Told Me.
Yeah.
And it's all complete falsehoods where they literally say things like, the founding fathers believed in slavery, and that's what the founding fathers did. It's just mind blowing. And Ed, they that's what they've been taught. They've been taught all bad information. It's no wonder that they think Alexandria Cortez is fantastic.
I think the more important message here is that the younger generation, and even the older generation, you never stop learning. You never focus on one source of information. You need to learn how to learn and suck in all this information and make good judgment calls. Okay, I always remember reading in history of the Roman Empire and stuff. Why do we know so much about Julius Caesar? You know why? Because he wrote stuff down. Okay, some of these other emperors didn't do that. So that's what's left. So these people are writing books, whether it's a novel of nonfiction, a textbook, that goes into the history. And somewhere along the line, somebody read something there. But the important thing is, don't only just rely on that one book. Go to
Who
the
are
other
you
book.
talking to?
I'm
Young
talking
people?
to everybody. Okay.
Okay,
Everybody.
but Ed,
needs-
if
Hold
you're,
on, hold on, let me finish.
Okay.
Let me finish. Okay. You cannot rely on one source of news over another source of news. You need to go out to all sources and to make a good judgment of what's going on there.
That's true.
Okay?
Yep.
And that's what I'm getting at. And it's unfortunate that those books are out there in the schools, okay? I haven't seen and looked them side by side because I'm out of the school generation. But we all have to, I think, do a little bit less criticism of what has happened and how we're going to fix it and encourage people to get involved more
Okay.
going forward.
I don't disagree, but I got to say this. This is really important. And if we don't understand it, we lose. And we're losing, okay? For 35 years, stuff that we used to learn, we don't learn anymore.
Okay.
If you take a 13 or 14 or 15-year-old kid and he gets on the bus in the morning, mom and dad are probably divorced and they're split up anyway. He gets on the bus, he goes to school, and he learns American history from some whack job named Howard Zinn, who has rewritten it, and that's where he learns it, because his teachers wanted him to learn it. The education system wanted him to learn the false information. And so for the next 5 years, he gets a degree from high school, and he has learned nothing about Julius Caesar, nothing about the real Thomas Jefferson, nothing about the true history of the United States. And as a result, he is totally unequipped to be able to make value judgments on what this country is really all about and all the phenomenally good things we've done. So yeah, now here's the other thing, Ed. When the kid comes home from school, when we came home, well, at least I did, because I'm the old guy here. When we came home from
We're
school,
all old. Peter called back.
oh, he did, yeah.
He said all 5 of us are old.
We are old. Okay, so when you're a when I came home from school, my mom was there, and when I came home from school, I played outdoors for the next 2 or 3 hours, and then I came in and had family dinner, and then I did my homework, and maybe the family watched 1/2 hour of actual news, of which 20 minutes was Walter Cronkite saying, "Here's what the facts are, no opinions." Okay. Today, the kid comes home from school. There's nobody there. He has a latchkey. He goes into the house and he plays 3D video games, killing people for the next 3 hours. And he does that every day of his life for 5 years, shooting and killing people, blowing things up. And it's real. It's happening. That's what he feels. He can hear it. He can feel it. He sees heads blow up. He's into it. Okay. He has not learned anything about the real America. He's learned all the fake information about America. And mom and dad don't give a rat's ass. And so now they don't have dinner together. And the next thing you know, he's now a member of society with no basis for making good value judgments. None.
Okay.
How do we fix it?
Well,
Up with America.
first of all, the point I was making is let's not criticize the young. Let's criticize ourselves and find a way to get more involved. Everybody, it's you're not wrong what you're saying, Tom, but I think the energy needs to be getting more people involved and getting them out there. So, like I said earlier, even both parties, it's if a situation comes up and it's like, oh, the other party did it or this and that, two wrongs don't make a right. Everybody learned that when they're young. Let's get to the issues and discuss the issues. Okay, your list of cannots or whatever. I mean, we can't be favoring one over the other. We need to get together at the table and quit calling people's names and get back to basic government and take all of the fluff and all the stuff that the government's not supposed to be there for.
I can recommend a good website to go to get objective information about the news of the day, and that's Turning Point USA.
Great website.
Go to Turning Point
Also
USA.
go to,
Any firefighters, that is not the chive, that is Turning Point USA.
if you want to learn something about American history, go to Hillsdale College or you can go to Prager University. You get phenomenal stuff.
Right. The age of the internet, there's so many sources of stuff out there.
Right.
Get involved. Just don't
Let me ask you-
don't put blinders on. Just get involved.
Let me ask you this, because it's very, I'm with it, but I'm not. Like, bringing positive change and getting together and stop calling each other names, and I agree, I wish it was that way. But we're also in a media-driven society as younger people. That's what they get their information, and it's whoever can get on top of the list to be seen. And at the same time, here's why I got involved, because I got tired of being called a racist. I got tired of being called because I'm patriotic. I got tired of it. I got tired of being told to sit down and shut up. after working for the government and realizing that people's lives are on the line, and the suits didn't give a flip. And then when it came to roost at my doorstep, which is when most people get involved in politics, and I was fired and was not given the opportunity to rehab, that needs to be called out. I wish we could come together and reach across the aisle and whatnot, but at the same time, I agree with what you're saying. My wife loses it. I sit there and watch his MSNBC. I can't stand it. But I don't think I can be a person that can have a discussion with a liberal Democrat unless I know where they're getting their information. I sit there and laugh a lot. My wife would be in the kitchen going, "What are you doing?" She can't stand Rachel Maddow. I hope she never meets her.
Yeah, well, I have a suggestion for Will. I think we need to invite our Democrat friends to one of these meetings, and we can all sit around,
I would love it.
hold hands, and sing Kumbaya, and I'm sure that everything will be just great again.
Well,
It's not going to be kumbaya, but I agree with that on your aspect, Ed, because anybody that is interested in politics, if we don't, Democrats and Republicans alike, I think can agree that if we don't find a way to reach across the aisle and be able to work as a government, our government is lost.
Right.
It's all dictated on primaries at this point. And I agree with that. I want that. I've had those conversations on Facebook with Democrats.
Yeah.
I love the idea of inviting them here to have a discussion. But we all, including myself, need to lose the angst and the passion that we have from all those years of being called racist and all these things.
I don't know if it's a metaphor, but you know, the name calling lit the fire within you. Okay, and you are a great person, a great citizen.
Thank you.
Your service to the country,
But kind of
but you're a fireman. What firemen are experts in putting fires out.
Right.
And now that fire's lit, you know, I think your energy would do us all great. To let's all concentrate on putting the fires out and moving this country forward.
Absolutely agree. But unfortunately, sometimes we have to take walls out, break your china to get that fire out.
Well said.
And that's where the thug comes in.
Good point.
Because Chris Eldridge and karate should be fired today.
So you mentioned our veterans.
Okay, I'll go say that. No.
You mentioned our veterans. I want to mention
Yes.
something. Those of you who were around 10 years ago when we had the first and only Grand Strand Festival at September 11th. That was in 2009. It was Grand Strand Freedom Festival. It was an amazing, fantastic event that the city boycotted, the chamber boycotted because it wasn't theirs.
Right.
But we still drew 15,000 people.
That's
and
weird.
the reason that they came here, the reason that we did it is that we wanted to honor veterans or first responders. And we flew in 25 families from all over the country who were disabled veterans or struggling veterans who all came from a friend of mine named Peggy, who owns a nonprofit called Operation First Response. I know Ed remembers this. It was amazing. We brought them and their families here. Most of them had never even seen the beach. Put them on oceanfront rooms, and they stayed here for 5 days and participated, and we honored their service to America and to us. It was an amazing event. Yesterday, I got this article from the Tampa Bay Times, and it's about somebody who was helped by Operation First Response. Jim Turner, a retired Marine colonel, took his own life at Bay Pines, Virginia VA campus. He was the 5th veteran to do so since 2013. Jim Turner was a decorated Marine, served his nation with honor, but the transition to civilian life proved too difficult. And ready? 19 other veterans every day. He took his own life. So here's my plea. My Christmas plea. Yeah.
It's actually 22 veterans today.
Is it really? Okay, here's my plea. You know, it's easy to think, well, we elected Trump, things are getting fixed and everything else. But you know what? The VA is not fixed. Our veterans are not getting taken care of, and there is no excuse for this. None. So if you do nothing else when you go to church on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, say some prayers for these beautiful people who have done so much for us. And let's work next year to make sure that they get the help they deserve and that they need.
Here again, we need to put our priorities in government, and we gotta start locally, and, that will trickle up to Washington DC, and that's one of the priorities.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have another Facebook page that is called Pissed Off Veterans United. Weird.
I'm looking for that one, man.
Yep.
We got the moniker behind us? No.
This particular colonel that he's talking about, the story is way more involved in that. He made a statement in his suicide, which most veterans in the 22 that kill themselves a day. And this hurts me because I've lost buddies, okay?
You want me to read it?
No.
Okay.
He sat on his medical records, VA medical records, when he did it. I am a member of the VA right here. That's where I get my medical. Overall, Myrtle Beach does well. The last 2 times I was in Charleston, the federal police followed me out. It is disgusting. I will say this, Trump has made it better. But we're light years. And when I have a good argument about universal health care, we're less than 0.001% of the population of the United States. And more than anything, out of those 22 that kill themselves a day, it's VA related. And we want our government to give it to all. It goes back to exactly what you say, Mr. Hoffman. Having the government involved in anything does not make it better.
Exactly.
Amen. Thank you, Chad. Amen.
I need an x-ray on my ankle. I went in to get an x-ray for my hip. Stupid me, didn't push that on my doctor to make sure I needed that x-ray because of my back injury. My leg's falling apart from my hip to my ankle. I didn't get an x-ray on my ankle, and I just got another appointment in a month and a half.
Wouldn't it be nice, rather than having to go to the VA, that you would be allowed to go to a private doctor of your own choosing?
That would be fantastic.
And he
Although I
does-
will say, I've had some bad VA doctors. My doctor's here. I'll say a therapist is awesome. My psychiatrist is great. But the system is universally broke. And the system is set up right now when it comes to comp and pension and things like that, is always you have to battle. When you have your medical records right there, say this happened, well, you need to go see this guy. And there's actually companies out there that will teach you how to go to a CMP exam where you are looked at to say, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, because these are telltales that they look for and say, no, you're not this percent. I'm right now 125% disabled per all of my disability.
That's the government for you. You go over
But
100%.
wait, that's where we came back. Well, exactly, and they used to call me poor because by math I'm 125%, but I'm only rated at 80. You have to get almost 190 before you're ever actually considered disabled.
No, there's, I mean,
Well, it's Christmas season, folks. We need to care about these people.
And I'm gonna say this: I got buddies all over, CVs all over. Check each other. We all know during the holidays is bad for a lot of military. A lot of guys come back, their wives are gone, their families have changed, they were gone on deployment. We've all heard, the story about Johnny. Check your boys. Call them. Reach out.
We're at the hour and 20-minute mark right now. We're gonna wrap.
It's the end of the year special. I think it should be a 2-year thing. We still got more to say,
We're
right?
gonna wrap things up a little bit. We're going to be coming back again in mid-January 2019. We've got Water Cooler Wednesdays. We'll be going back with a vengeance. And I believe the 16th is when they're going to have the next town hall at the warehouse. In Conway. I want people to stop by. You've got not only the Facebook page, but you've got the website of Up With America.
Right.
I want people to get involved with the reorg that are in with the Republican Party. all the charities and so on. I've been amazed at how many of the Toys for Tots boxes are overflowing
Yeah,
this year.
yeah.
Awesome.
It's just been
Especially after a devastating year we had ourselves.
Yeah.
Giving's hard.
Yeah, charitable giving is off the hook. If anybody wants us to be hosted at their venues, please let us know. I don't know if a lot of you know that there's been some demonetizing and deplatforming that's been going on in the last 2 weeks for places. We will not be. I'm just going to announce this now. We're not going to be seeking subscriptions on Patreon. We will be having a link going up for, I believe it's Subscribestar is what we're going to be doing, so we can get some equipment and so we can pay some of these places that have been so gracious in hosting us, and so we could bring up better quality, invite people in, have call in, more inclusion into this. I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Be safe out there.
Happy Hanukkah.
I'm going to be taking off at the beginning in January
Oh, my bad.
for a few days
Shalom.
up in the mountains, exchanging gifts. What are your plans going for the holidays? You staying?
I was like, you're coming over? Elizabeth, we need more ham.
Yeah.
Actually, she invited me yesterday.
I'm sure she did.
Yeah, she's probably just inviting you.
Did you just
That
say
must
we
be-
need more ham? Is that what you said?
I need more ham. Miss Joanne, a lady that we met at the floods at Midtown. She was the most wonderful little lady. She's going to join me and my wife and her mom and dad, and my boy Tommy is coming. We've invited a couple firemen that don't have families. We're kind of becoming the wayward home. Nobody should be alone on Christmas. And if you've never said anything bad about me on Facebook, just Elizabeth's on here. Just hit her up. She'll give you directions to the house, so I know how much ham I hate ham.
So I had planned actually on leaving today or yesterday to visit family first in Virginia and then Maryland and then go all the way to New York City, where I have 3 daughters. And then I decided that between the weather and the drive and that I wasn't feeling all that well, I would postpone that until the sometime later this winter, which I'm going to fly up there. So, but I want to say this, okay? This has been a really rough year for me personally, and the reason for that is that even though I get older, and we all get older, I was not anticipating so many friends dying. Starting with Joe DeFeo back in May, and then Robert Kelly in August, and it's just been one thing after another. It's been a rough year. We all know the end comes sooner or later. I just wasn't planning on losing so many friends, and so. I love everybody out there. I want you to know let's see, I want to say couple more things. My father would have turned 100 years old on November 28th, and he was an Air Force pilot
Great
in
man.
World War II.
Great story, man.
My mother would turn 99 on Christmas Day, if she was still alive. And my youngest daughter, Courtney, who's the one that's the model that people talk about all the time, believe it or not, turns 40 years old on December 29th. Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a big year. I love all you guys. Listen, talk, come see us, participate.
I talked about Golden Hours too.
It's true, he does. And that's all I have to say. Merry
Talk about my
Christmas.
dog.
Merry Christmas to all of you.
I'll be having a Christmas dinner in Indigo Creek with family and friends. When you drive into Indigo Creek in Merle's Inlet, be sure to set your clock back 20 years. That's important. But I'd like to say Merry Christmas to all my friends. And remember, peace, love, and little donuts with the best Boston cream donuts in the world.
Yeah, thank you, Clayton.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'm, first of all, I want to say January 16th, there is a public gathering at the Mortgage train station. I think it starts
Oh, thank you.
sometime early afternoon, 12 o'clock, 4:30, and then a drop-in and then a public workshop at 6, so that the city can show you how they're going to spend your tax dollars over the next years downtown. There's public idea of projects, the 501 alignment, which is the state, new city hall. You didn't know we need a new city hall. I think they're buying a church, the new library. The new children's museum, new theater, classrooms from Coast Carolina, reuse of the pavilion site, which I didn't know was sitting on. The Fine Arts Cultural District, new parks and greenways. And of course, the private aspects of the projects they're looking at is residential. And they really would like to see more market rate apartments in downtown using city land assets, private partnerships, and proposed affordable housing funds. A housing assessment and strategy for the J1 to 4,000 students every year. So please come out on the 16th and see what your city's doing. We need your input.
Come on the
And
19th
Merry
for the
Christmas,
Empower Conference.
Happy Hanukkah, and all the holiday greetings.
Johnny,
I'm gonna spend it with
Peter,
family.
Lisa, thank you for sticking with us through this time, and David, of course. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody.
Wait, sorry. For the new year, please look up Grand Strand Daily, Myrtle Beach SC, The Fan, Freedom Action Network. These are the people that are putting out the information in the news. If you want to get involved, want to be, it doesn't even take, we talk about how you need to educate others on the issue. It doesn't take long. Get them into your feed, read it in the morning, and get an idea.
Merry Christmas. Christmas is 4 days away. Where can we get the t-shirts?
Elizabeth, get the cricket going. We gotta bust out some t-shirts.
Yeah, don't be a dick.
Merry Christmas, don't be a dick.
Happy holidays.